The gut is the cornerstone of your health. The gut is the key to everything. It is connected to every single thing in your body. And so if someone comes to me, they might come to me with some not gut-related symptom.
Like brain fog,
arthritis. And I can always tie it back to the gut. And I'm pretty much 99% of the time, we are starting in the gut because it truly is connected to every other part of your body. My biggest problems with Ozempic and Mounjaro is the lack of education.
Terra,
Yo.
we have a functional medicine pharmacist in today.
I know.
It's time to talk gut health. This is the gut health episode, guys. Chelcee Porter,
Yes.
thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So you're the gut health specialist. You're the gut health
Guru.
Yes, absolutely. Gut health is my jam.
Okay. So I said you're a functional medicine pharmacist. What does that mean?
So I focus on finding root cause of symptoms, diseases, and helping you heal from the inside out instead of trying to cover up symptoms.
Terra and I just watched a documentary about gut health. Gut health is Terra's.
I love it. It's fascinating.
It is.
I even said, I wish I could have been a poop scientist. But then I saw them digging in the poop and I was like, never mind, that's not my jam.
Did this episode already get demonetized? Thanks, Terra.
Oh. I said poop.
Okay. Cut that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Dookie scientist?
Okay. Cut that. All right. Back to let's elevate this a little bit. Okay. It's fecal.
Fecal.
Thank you.
Fecal science.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know that you'd be great at that. And also I don't know that I'd be great at you being great at that. It's a weird move. But going back to you, Chelcee.
So I am a pharmacist by day, and then I also run my functional medicine consulting business on the side. And so I work with clients to figure out what exactly is going on with them. A lot of people come to me with symptoms or things that doctors have blown off or doctors haven't really been able to figure out why they're having that. And so they come to me and I really work to figure out what exactly is going on, how did we get here, and what can we do to fix the root of the problem versus just treating a symptom, covering up a symptom with a medication. How can we actually heal you?
What are some of those symptoms that you're
People come to me with fatigue, gut problems are a huge thing. So constipation, stomach pain, bloating, reflux, anything like that.
People have had stomach pains for
Ever,
right?
Yeah.
Thousands of years,
Yeah.
right? So what's the difference between the treatments of today or what you do versus in the past where it's take some Pepto-Bismol, dude. You probably ate something spicy.
Yeah. So something really common these days is IBS. It's a blanket diagnosis that is given to lots of people with any kind of stomach problem. The doctor doesn't really actually know what's happening. They just have all these random gut symptoms and they're like, you have IBS. And then there's not really a good treatment option for it. There's a couple different medications that can help when you're having symptoms, but nothing to truly fix it conventionally. And so I look at it as a completely different viewpoint, and I'm looking at how are you digesting your food? Do you have some gut dysbiosis, meaning an imbalance in the bacteria in your gut? There's lots of different causes of IBS, and you have to dig a little deeper to figure those out, but that's what I do.
I didn't realize. So IBS, irritable bowel syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
is just a blanketed.
It's like fibromyalgia.
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
The doctor doesn't really know why you're having the stomach pain, so good luck, you have IBS. And there's not much they do for it.
Well, and nowadays I feel because insurance and all that stuff, the doctors might not necessarily take the time to try to figure out what the root cause is because insurance companies aren't going to cover that.
Right. And the doctors don't have time to sit there and spend 45 minutes with you, whereas I do. I sit down and talk to you for an hour. And so that allows me the opportunity to be able to figure those things out, whereas the doctor is really rushed and they don't have time to spend there. And that is partly due to insurance, and so that's kind of where I fit into it.
So for the people out there who have gut issues, right? And whatever all those scenarios and symptoms may be, what are some initial things if they can't come visit you and they don't have a functional medicine pharmacist in their direct area? What are some of the things questions they need to ask themselves to sort of figure out like, oh, this is why I might be having these symptoms?
So I always start with the foundations of health. That's what I like to call them.
Okay.
It's going to be your stress, your sleep, your diet, movement, and relationships. Your health is based off of those things. When we look at functional medicine, we're looking at how the body functions, right? We're trying to find the dysfunction. And you can pretty much tie back all of those things to our foundations of health. So if you're thinking, oh, I have all these stomach problems or I'm having these weird symptoms, take a look at how are you sleeping? How are you managing your stress? What are you putting into your body? Are you moving your body?
Mhm.
And really start there at the basics before, you're trying random supplements that you read about on the internet and you don't really know how they work and you don't know what they do. Just start with the basics.
Yeah.
What's the difference between like I'm lactose intolerant,
Mhm.
right? Is that just finding out that you're lactose intolerant versus,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Is like that's one side of it, but that was
Yeah.
something that you could nail down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So lactose intolerance is a little bit different than like your food sensitivity versus a food allergy. So food allergy is going to be things like anaphylaxis,
Okay.
like true allergy. Then you can have food sensitivities where your body is making antibodies against the food, usually happening when you're having leaky gut. That's very common to see a lot of food sensitivities if you have leaky gut. Um, and then lactose intolerance is kind of like a subset, if you will, um, of a sensitivity, but you just really can't break down the lactose, basically.
Is that same as like gluten? Like you can't break down that
Yeah,
type of
there's
stuff?
like gluten sensitivity and then there's
Celiac.
celiac.
Okay.
So celiac, you absolutely can't eat gluten because your body is making a specific antibody to the gluten, causing problems throughout the body. Whereas like a gluten sensitivity, it's just not sitting right with
Yeah, we were watching and it was basically like how closely your gut and your brain are tied together, I guess,
you.
right? And
Yes.
it's all like, what was it, microbiomes? Is that what it is?
Yes. Microbiome.
So what's in your opinion, I guess, like what are some of these general root causes of people having gut problems? Is it purely the American diet or are there, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other things,
Yeah.
but I mean, what's the biggest factor typically?
I think the biggest factor is like a culmination of our lifestyle these days. Um, our diet included, just how we're treating our body, the stress that we have nowadays compared to 50 years ago.
Mhm.
Stress that you don't even think about, like looking at social media all the time. Um, stress from work, stress from kids, the fast-paced lifestyle that we all live, is kind of culminates all together and can cause these problems. And so that's why it's never just one thing with the gut. It can be a lot of different things, and so you have to look at every aspect of your life and not just let me take a supplement
Yeah.
because everything is affecting the gut.
What's the percentage of people that are coming to you of purely like gut, like pain, right? Gut health
Mhm.
versus like, I want to lose weight. And how closely are they tied together?
Everything's tied together.
Okay.
The gut is the cornerstone of your health. The gut is the key to everything. It is connected to every single thing in your body. And so if someone comes to me, they might come to me with some not gut related symptom,
Like brain
like
fog.
brain fog, arthritis, and I can always tie it back to the gut. And I'm pretty much 99% of the time, we are starting in the gut because it truly is connected to every other part of your body.
What's a type of regimen that you're going to go, all right, somebody took the time to come to you, right?
Mhm.
They've at least recognized that something's going on with them
Right.
and they need help.
Mhm.
They come to you. What type of regimen are you telling these people to get into?
So it is very dependent on the person. Everything I do is tailored specifically to the individual, depending on what is going on, depending on if we ran a stool test or not. So a stool test is going to give us all this information about the bacteria in your gut. How are your digestive enzymes? How are you processing everything? How is the immune function in your gut? And so, depending on if I run a stool test or not, it kind of changes what I do. Always going to have foundational health recommendations. There will always be a recommendation for your stress, sleep, diet, all of that. And then, because that plays a part in what we call the 5R protocol, and that's kind of that's like the framework of how we treat the gut. And so, it's going to be what do we remove? What do we replace, rebuild, re-inoculate, and rebalance? And so the rebalance component is really where those foundations come into play. So working on the stress and the sleep and everything. And so that's where I start.
Okay.
And then everything is tailored to the person depending on what's going on.
Like a stool test sounds scary. Like I just imagine that you're like pooping in a bucket and then having to dig it out. So like
That's exactly what it is.
That's
sir.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
well, on the show today, it was like they had
No,
like
it's a
a
bucket.
net they put
It's a
on the
bucket.
toilet.
I mean,
It's a bucket.
That seems
the stool test that I run, like you
Let's
you
go.
pretty
All right, here we go.
you pretty much get like what you would get at like a baseball game with nachos in.
uh-huh.
You get one of those to poop in. And then you have to put it
A
in the
nacho
little
tray?
thing.
Okay.
Pretty much.
It's got like a
That's
little
really
cheese
what it-
dip on
That's
the
really
side.
what it reminds
Okay.
me of.
Some jalapenos.
But they have like 1 and 3 day stool test. I always just do the one because people are really nervous to get a stool test done for obvious reasons. But it provides the coolest information and really helps me to tailor because I can do a lot of things based off symptoms. And like I'm pretty good at saying, okay, I'm pretty sure this is exactly what's going on. But there's always that chance that, some symptoms appear for various reasons, and so I might be thinking it's something else, but it could be like something completely opposite. And so if we don't run a stool test, it might take us a little longer and a little more like playing with it to really
Okay.
Not the stool.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
to like change things up if something's not working. Whereas a stool test, like I can pinpoint exactly what's going on and I can give you a better initial plan. And it usually
It's like
is
blood work,
quicker.
but
Right.
with
Exactly.
Okay, that's fair. I do understand that correlation there, but like, and I know it's hard to like just go, here's a general example,
Mhm.
but I'm saying like, okay, you've done a stool sample.
Mhm.
I don't know what you're going to find in there. What I'm
Mhm.
saying is like, do you come back 3 days later and the person comes in and goes, hey, just don't eat green beans? Or like, what are
Okay.
some scenarios
Okay.
here?
So we'll go through. Okay. So for remove, we're going to remove anything that is causing problems or worsening what you have going on. So diet, we're removing, say you drink 4 Cokes a day. We're probably going to remove those because they disrupt our microbiome.
But is this something that the person has told you that they drink 4 Cokes a day or you're
Yes.
seeing in their stool?
No. So
Okay.
when I meet with someone,
Yeah.
the first time we meet before any testing is done, I
Yeah.
meet with you for an hour.
Okay.
And we go through your entire health history. I learn a lot, like everything I can, because I'm mapping out your health and the timeline of your health to try to piece together what happened to get us to where we are.
Got it. Okay.
And so all of that's done first. And then once I hear like a better idea of what you're dealing with and what you have been through, then that's when I make a recommendation. Okay, we need to do this test versus this test, or I think we can hold off on this for a little while, and that's why it's tailored to
Okay.
what you're doing.
And then how much of that regimen or plan that you're putting together for them, since you're a pharmacist, includes actual like prescribing medicine?
So as a pharmacist, I can't prescribe any medication,
Got it.
but the medications available will not treat.
They're just for like to lessen the
It's for
symptoms, right?
symptoms, yeah.
it's a
So
Band-Aid.
how like if you're having cramping with your stomach pain, there's a medication to stop cramping,
Right.
but it's just
Not
not
to cure the
fixing
Mhm.
why the cramping's
cause of it.
happening. Right. So there's not a medication on the market that's going to just fix your gut health.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the American diet then.
Yes.
So,
My favorite.
your favorite?
My favorite topic.
Okay,
Diet.
so in that documentary, 42% of Americans are classified as overweight or obese. Boom, nailed it. It only took 3 times to say that word. Clearly, it's from the American diet.
It's a big factor.
Okay, so when somebody's coming into you and they're before you're even talking about stool samples and tests, you're like, well, what do you eat in a general week, right? Like,
Yes.
can the conversation just stop there and go, don't do that, and then come back in a couple months? And I mean,
Yeah. So diet is always going to be a recommendation for me because of the standard American diet, or the SAD diet, as we like to call it.
Mm.
Um, it plays such a key role in not only your gut health, but your overall health. Food is medicine. I like truly believe that, because everything that you're putting in your body has a role in whether it's leading you towards wellness or it's leading you towards illness. So that's always going to be included in my replace section of a gut protocol. We want to replace what you're currently eating with more veggies, with more fruits, more plants, more healthy fats, clean proteins. And a lot of my clients, we actually spend a whole visit just focused on diet, because it really does play the biggest role. Food is not only fuel for your body, but food is information. You know, when you're eating a vast array of different colored veggies and fruits, every single color has a different function, and like it helps your body do different things. When you eat something red, it's helping something versus a yellow food that is targeted towards something else. Like every single thing we consume is telling our body what to do. And
I love
so,
So red is ketchup and yellow is French fries. Got it.
I mean,
Nailed it. Nailed it. I mean, my gut tells me, see what I did there, Tara?
Yeah.
That the vast majority of people just attribute problems with their gut with being overweight, right? I mean, it seems like it's a direct correlation, but you could have obviously gut issues and be
right,
lean and be in generally good health.
right.
So is that why there's so many, just like basically, to me, there's more diet solutions than there are gut health solutions, I guess. And
Yeah.
it seems to me because the gut health seems a lot more scientific and a lot more intricate
Yes.
and a lot more like, I don't know, trial and error, I guess, versus eat cleaner and better, right? And you will lose the weight inherently and probably, I guess, fix the gut health. Not necessarily, I guess.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I think there's a piece of weight loss is really connected to other things going on. Like if you're having trouble losing weight, it's more than just calories in versus calories out. Like, yes, if you're in a calorie deficit, that can help you lose weight, obviously, right? You're not eating as much. But there are other factors that play with like stubborn weight loss than just
You're
the
lazy.
amount of calories, or you're lazy. Yeah, there's a brain component. There's probably an inflammation component going on. And that's probably stemming back from some gut health or some other things that are going on in your body. And so, specifically for me, I know I have clients, I never like focus on weight loss with clients because I'm always more worried about their overall health versus just how many pounds they are. And so, I'm very upfront with my clients about that. But when we focus on the gut, when we start to heal some of these symptoms that they're having, lower the inflammation, lower the toxic load that they're putting onto their body or into their body, we see weight loss because you're fixing underlying problems that are just like your body is not going to focus on weight loss when it's got other problems going on.
It's fighting a whole
Yeah,
different fight.
exactly. And so your body's going to hold on to that because it doesn't have time to think about weight loss. You know, it's trying to heal itself, but it's a constant fight. And so if you're having like stubborn weight loss, there's probably something else going on. And unfortunately, like conventional medicine model doesn't have time to get into that.
I have a girlfriend who we have several of the same like autoimmune issues. And when she cut out, I think it was like dairy, gluten, all kinds of stuff. I mean, she's a skinny mini now.
Yeah.
And she was like, if I have one piece of cheese or a little bit of bread, because I'm like, oh, it's been long enough. Like she's like,
Right.
just swells back up.
Right. And it's because she's probably having those sensitivities to those foods. It's causing an immune reaction. When you get an immune reaction, you're getting inflammation. And that inflammation is like a vicious cycle. It affects everything. And they are usually feeding off of each other, especially like with hormones and stuff. It's like a vicious cycle. One makes one worse, the other makes the other worse. And it just like continues on.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, you're not able to lose the weight. And so when you can pull the things causing that out, the inflammation dies down, your body can just do what it's meant to do. When you give you give your body the chance to do what it's made to do, it works really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always interested in the aspect of like, I'm a history buff, but
Mhm.
not to where like it's like I know all these fun facts or anything. But I'm always curious about like the evolution of
Mhm.
humankind, I guess, right?
Mhm.
And clearly, like these days in the 21st century, humans live longer than we did
Mhm.
1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
right? 800 years ago, whatever it may be. But that was probably more or less diseases and running rampant, right? So that
Right.
is, to me, that is a clear indication of like Western medicine or just medicine as a whole, right?
Yes.
But then at the same time, I'm going like, are we eating worse than we were
Yes.
600 years ago?
100%.
So if that's the case, then like, what, I guess, how do we get back to that? And what kind of cultures around the world would you suggest have healthier diets that could you go like, hey, you should focus on like a Japanese
Mhm.
culture diet or China or
Mhm.
Latin America or Europe or something like
Mhm.
that. Does that ever come into play?
Oh, man, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Oh,
Um,
that was a very long-winded question. I apologize, but
um, so a lot of that, let's just tie this back to diet.
okay.
Okay. So, like the products of today that we see on the shelf, like your name brand cereals and like your go-to staples in the American diet, the ingredients that are used now, just compared to 20 years ago, completely different. The quality of the ingredients used now,
Ultra processed.
ultra
Right.
processed.
Makes sense. All the nutrients are being stripped out.
Yes,
Okay.
And then added back
exactly.
in, like,
Added,
chemically.
yeah, added back in with fillers and gums and just things like you don't even know what they are.
Mhm.
I mean, if you pick up a package and you're reading it and you don't know the words, you probably shouldn't eat it, right?
That's
Like,
fair.
and then also what's fascinating is that if you look at the products of today and compare the same brand being sold in Europe, different ingredients.
Okay.
The like Europe products of the same brand have way cleaner ingredients. So even just the difference between the countries, like we are getting really bad things.
Well, why
Mhm.
is that in your opinion? Why are the
Um,
ingredients different?
well, the Europeans, like, outlawed a bunch
Yeah,
of
they
these, like,
have
different things.
yeah,
Okay.
they have a lot stricter rules and regulations on what they allow into their products.
But it's even the same companies
Yeah,
though,
it's the
right?
same
Like if
companies.
I'm gonna throw out a name of a company,
Mhm.
not to have any slander or anything like that, but
Yeah.
like for example, if there was like a Nabisco,
Mhm.
right? So Nabisco products that are being pumped out in America, same Nabisco, same
Mhm.
company, but
Yeah.
the products are in Europe,
Mhm.
different ingredients.
Yeah. Well, it's cheaper to make fake foods than it is to
Okay.
use real foods. And so I think that
So
plays a big
okay,
role.
money, there's corner cutting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second part of that question to go back to diet,
Mhm.
right? Talking about inflammation, your friend with dairy and bread,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. I think those are hot topics, right?
Yeah.
Going back in history,
Mhm.
right? Is there a point where like we're just not supposed to be, as humans, we're not supposed to be eating bread and dairy or wheat, I guess, and dairy?
So this goes back to how we process those things now. Like the the wheat that we eat right now is completely different than the wheat they ate hundreds of
If I
years
was a
ago.
farmer,
Right.
right?
A
Okay.
100 years
Because
ago,
yeah,
yeah.
Or more,
because
yeah.
of, like, the different processing that they put it through.
Okay.
And so, I don't know if you've ever heard, like, if you go to Italy, like, and you're gluten-free, that you can eat the pasta over there, and it's because their wheat hasn't been all messed up like ours has, and so, like, a lot of people with gluten sensitivities go to Italy and have pasta and enjoy pizza and everything, and they can because it's more of a true form of wheat versus, like, a modified wheat that we have over here in the States.
So what I'm hearing is you basically people come in, they get their consultation with you.
Mhm.
you sit down with them, you test their poop, and then you go, I think you should move to Europe.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Probably less stress.
Let's all go.
Yeah, yeah.
Better sleep.
Pack up and go.
Okay, so microbiomes, is that the right word?
Yes.
Okay, it's basically bacteria, right?
Yes.
Okay, for lack of a better word, bacteria. So you have good bacteria in your gut, you have bad bacteria
Yes.
in your gut.
Yes.
How do you get more good bacteria and less bad bacteria?
Lots of different things. Focusing on improving good bacteria is going to be eat more plants. The bacteria in our gut eat what we eat. And when they eat what we eat, they are releasing different compounds, different vitamins, different nutrients for our body to use. But they need those to grow and they need those to survive. And so just incorporating more plants into your diet is going to help improve your good bacteria. Probiotics. We've all heard take your probiotics, but probiotics don't necessarily, like when you take a probiotic, you're not just going to get more good bacteria from that probiotic. The probiotic basically acts as a placeholder in your gut to crowd out bad bacteria so that the good bacteria can grow and thrive. And so when you're taking the probiotic, you're not actually just
you're not introducing new bacteria.
Right. It's just helping to push off the bad bacteria to give room for the good to grow.
Okay, so you shouldn't be taking probiotics in lieu of just eating more plants.
Right. It's like a piece to the puzzle. And that's the thing with gut health, is it's not just one thing. There are lots of little pieces that work together to make this thriving microbiome community. And like I always say, when your microbiome's thriving, you are thriving.
And you're going to find out if your microbiome is thriving through stool samples.
Yes, and just based off symptoms. Like I can, once I'm talking to you, I can be like, you have a good microbiome. Oh. Or we should probably do some work on that.
Okay.
Like there's so many different probiotics out there.
Yes.
Like, do you have a favorite?
It depends on the case. So each probiotic is going to help different things. For example, if you're on antibiotics or you have recently taken antibiotics, I recommend a Saccharomyces boulardii. It's actually a yeast. It's not a bacteria. Fun fact. But it has been shown to help improve the microbiome post-antibiotic. Whereas like a lactobacillus and a bifidobacterium are probably going to be better for just overall improvement. So it's kind of case dependent, which probiotic I recommend.
I went to whatever, the natural foods market or whatever it's called. And I had this like whole list on my phone of like things to look for in a probiotic. And I was just like, this is too much. I don't know what any of this means. Like there's the refrigerated ones and non-refrigerated.
Yeah.
So I gave up.
Yeah. It can be overwhelming, especially just like supplements in general. Like there's so many. I definitely recommend using a brand that third-party tests, because just like any over-the-counter supplement, they're not regulated by the FDA or anything. And so sometimes you find products that have things that you didn't know were going to be in there. And so having a brand that third-party tests to make sure that you are getting what it says it has and nothing else is really important.
Will it just say that on the bottle?
Yeah, there's different groups. And then if you like go on the brand's website, they usually will be bragging if they are third-party tested, because it is coming more popular to have that because people are realizing that it's not regulated and they're looking for those companies that third-party test.
Awesome.
Getting rid of the bad bacteria as a whole. That's just elimination of
So eliminating, usually the bad bacteria kind of feed off of those more standard American diet things, processed foods.
Okay.
So eliminating that. Depending on symptoms, I might recommend some herbs that help suppress the bacteria, to kind of weed them out. And then you can also do things like, you probably heard colostrum, that can help. So there's different options to like get rid of the bad bacteria. I don't always jump to like the herbs or anything, because usually when we're doing the whole plan, it's weeding out the bad bacteria and you're really boosting the good bacteria. And we don't necessarily need the herbs, but if someone had more severe symptoms, or like a severe dysbiosis, then I might recommend like a herbal combination product.
Are you generally dealing with people with severe? Are they severe cases? Like they're like, if I eat this one thing, it's my body's in shambles type of thing, or is it just like it's not feeling good?
I have a mix.
Okay.
I would say most people that come to me, they're pretty not well, and that's why they've seeked me
They're
out.
on that level of the
They're
spectrum.
on the like,
Okay.
I need help and I need help now and nothing has helped me so far.
Okay.
Is there something you can do? Because they've tried everything else. But then I do have a few people who come to me just wanting to optimize their health, which I also love.
Yeah.
For the severes, where does fecal transplant come into play? We saw that on documentary, and it's poop pills, guys. It's pills of poop.
Different ways
There's
to do
different
it.
ways to do it.
Yeah, there's the DIY way.
Oh,
There's-
please don't. Please don't do
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
explain what it is, because I was fascinated by it, but disgusted, but also fascinated.
So basically, you get someone else's poop and it's different ways to transplant it into you to kind of move their microbiome into your microbiome.
You're assuming then that person's poop, or that person.
wait, why can you say poop and I can't?
We're past that. It was that first 3 minutes. We're good.
Oh.
You're assuming that person then is ultra healthy and has been tested, right? Because I mean, if they have bad bacteria or bad microbiomes in their body, can't that go into your body as well?
Yeah. So whatever they got, you're going to get.
Yeah.
So you really want to be picky on who you do that with. I have read some that you want to have someone who also lives with you because they're exposed to the same environment as you. And so you're not introducing
There's somebody I live with.
random things.
I'm not.
Good luck.
Taking your
was
poop.
swapping or what?
No.
Okay. All right.
But that's really for more severe things like C. diff.
If you had to choose a person out there whose poop that you would transplant, I'm trying to gauge, like,
I want her
who
poop.
do you consider to be an ultra healthy individual out there that's like I would probably, if there's me, I'm like, all right, The Rock seems pretty healthy. It's
Jason Momoa?
pretty swole. Jason Momoa's poop, sure, why not? But like, yes, it seems very extreme, but like you're hoping that it's like from a person who's like peak.
Right. That's what you would want.
Okay. Man.
I don't know who I'd pick.
Because you just like really never know what's going on.
Right.
Like they might appear healthy. Like I look at Jennifer Aniston. She
Right.
looks like she's perfectly healthy.
Jennifer Lopez.
Right.
Hasn't aged.
Has not aged.
Okay.
But
could you do an animal? Like a deer seems pretty healthy.
I'd probably stick to a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, somebody out there, there's got to be a YouTube video that somebody's done this.
Someone's eating deer poop.
Whatever.
Please
I don't know. All right, that's for the extreme cases. Going back to the cultures, though, like there seems to be like you talked a little bit about Europe and the pasta and stuff like that, but I mean, you hear about like the Mediterranean diet and all these things. Are there just general cultures that you would be like, they're kind of doing it right if you want to like go towards that direction?
Mediterranean diet is definitely the top recommended, especially in prevention of cardiometabolic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. If you get on the internet and read about the Mediterranean diet, some people are like, that's not even what we eat in the Mediterranean. But what they mean is really focusing on the healthy fats, very plant heavy, your fatty fish like salmon, because those are high in your omegas that are anti-inflammatory. And so that's kind of the standard diet of what you would want to base your diet
like
off.
Fish, those certain fish in that area, olives, obviously, right?
Olive oil.
Gyros, probably.
Probably
not. Oh, okay. I see. Man. Terra, you love this stuff. Like you tell me about like kefir, and you try to get me to eat all this stuff.
Fermented foods.
Yes, fermented foods are a great way to improve the good bacteria in your gut as well. I always want to hopefully get to where your diet is where you're getting most of your probiotics and your nutrients, and so you're not taking a ton of supplements. At first, when you're fixing things, supplements are really critical, especially if you start with a standard American diet and you're not in a place where you're getting a lot of those vitamins, minerals, probiotics from your foods. But I'm always working towards getting people to where they're getting most of that from their diet versus having to take, 10 supplements a day.
Yeah. I
So-
wish I only took 10.
So yeah. So what are we talking here? Like in terms of like plants, you're talking about like just raw
Yeah, just
food?
your fruits and veggies.
Okay.
Like when you go to
And-
the grocery store,
Mhm.
like what are the top 5 or 10 things like vegetable wise and fruit wise that you're picking up?
I mean, I always have apples, always have berries, bananas, sweet potatoes, anything green. Um, I love Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are one of my favorites. Broccoli. Frozen broccoli is a staple in our house because it's just so easy to throw on a sheet pan and have some crispy broccoli.
Yeah.
Um, really just like I try to change up what I'm buying every week because kind of like how I mentioned before, the different colors will give you different nutrients. Just that variability in your diet helps your microbiome to thrive. And so they also want to eat
Mhm.
various things. And so I try to switch up what we get at the store every week. Like, say 1 week we got sweet potatoes, butternut squash, and broccoli. The next week, maybe we got zucchini, bell pepper, and something else. Like, I'm trying to change it up a little bit so that we are having more of a variety in the diet.
To get those diverse.
Yes.
Are you constantly have to
Diversity.
like test yourself in your household or something? Because you're going like, okay, we're crushing these red peppers for a while. Like, you have to kind of figure out like, how is this affecting me, or is it affecting me, or
I mean, I was like stool testing.
weekly?
No.
Okay.
That's expensive.
Curious. Okay.
I mean, stool tests are not cheap. And
Yeah.
so I really only recommend them if I know it's going to be beneficial to use. Like if it's going to change my plan of how I'm going to like work someone up, then I will recommend it. If
Mhm.
it's not going to change what I'm going to do, then I won't recommend it. And so unless I was having like symptoms or something, then I probably wouldn't test. Unless you're my husband and I just get free tests from lab companies and I make them do them all the time.
Cool.
He loves that.
Like,
He's like, babe,
You're-
not again.
I know. I'm like, well, you're the guinea pig. Here's a new test to try.
I mean, like, I feel like technology has to play a role in it, in getting people on board. Like,
Mhm.
I can think the example is like, Terra will be like, how did you feel when last night or whatever, the next day after you ate this? And I go, I wasn't, I don't know.
And I pay
Yeah.
attention to how he feels.
Yeah.
I feel the same,
Yeah.
right? There's only the times where I'm like, oh, it's rare, I think, but I can go like, okay, yeah, well, it has a bunch of cheese, don't feel great.
Mhm.
But I'm not like keeping tallies and
Mhm.
tabs on everything that I'm like. The same as like we watch people were like they checking their blood glucose with their phone, right?
Yeah.
It's like tapping your arm.
Mhm.
That's why I'm saying like the technology side. Like, could there be some sort of technology that's like knowing? Could you put a tracker in your gut and it's like, oh, it knows everything that's going in and out?
Would be
There
amazing.
are
And then you could
some,
scan it with your phone or something.
there are some like wild things that they're working on. I read something about like a pill that you could swallow that will actually like track your microbiome and give you information. It's not available yet, but like I definitely think there will be some really cool things like that in the future, which would
Okay.
be awesome. Because sometimes when I'm like working with a client and they have like the random symptoms and I'm like, okay, we're gonna start with your gut, and they're like, that is not what I came to you for. And I'm like, I know, but
But.
let me explain. And usually when we start working on the gut and they start feeling so much better, they're like, you were right. Like, I know.
But is it a lot of times they're going like, well, now I just can't eat those things anymore.
Yes. And I always am trying to encourage people that eating a healthier diet is not boring. Like, I love food. I love food. I'm not going to make you just sit and eat, your chicken, rice, and broccoli with
It
no
was some kale chip.
seasonings. Yeah. Like there are healthier options. Like there's healthier product options. You just have to read the package.
Yeah.
But I really try to provide my people with resources to help them kind of overcome that, because I know like you're thinking, oh, I'm never going to have anything good ever again. And that's just not the case. You can make pretty much everything with healthier ingredients and it tastes better.
Yeah.
Like I think it tastes better because you're eating like the real food and you're using the spices and the herbs, and like it tastes so much better.
I've read quite a few books about like autoimmune eating and whatnot. And, they all say like the first thing you should do is cut out like nightshades and
Mm-hmm.
gluten and all those things.
Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just call me Giselle. Um, and I want to do those things, but
Yeah.
I also love like my homemade pasta sauce that's full of tomatoes
Yeah.
and all that kind of fun stuff. So if I do a stool test,
Mm-hmm.
will that kind of tell me if I have an aversion to like the nightshades and the whatnot?
No, a stool test won't tell you that. There are food sensitivity tests. I don't hate them,
I've heard they're like,
but I don't
eh.
love them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very dependent on the person if I would recommend that, because if you're having leaky gut, so you're probably having some kind of dysbiosis. Basically, leaky gut is when your intestinal cells should be like this and nothing can pass through it. Leaky gut, they're open and bigger molecules can pass through. So different food molecules pass through, and your immune system starts attacking those things because they're not supposed to be there. And so whenever that's happening, your body is attacking anything that gets through, right? And so on a food sensitivity test, it's measuring those antibodies. Well, if you have leaky gut and you're reacting to anything that you're eating,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to show up on a food sensitivity test. And then you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't eat anything. I did one probably 6 or 7 years ago when I was struggling with my own gut health. That's kind of how I got into functional medicine to begin with. I was struggling with IBS, and I did a food sensitivity test because I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to tell me so much. And I literally came back and was reactive to like 100 and something foods. Like,
Dang.
I remember like pulling it up and being like, oh my gosh, like I can't eat anything. And it's because I did it in this very vulnerable state where my body was reacting to everything. So if you're in that, you're going to be reacting to everything. That does not mean that you're going to be sensitive to that. When you can heal the gut and you can prevent that, we lower the antibodies because, it's not coming through,
Mm-hmm.
then if you do a sensitivity test, you'll notice that you're not actually sensitive to all of those things. So it's really dependent on the timing of which you're taking a food sensitivity test, if it's going to be beneficial or not.
Gotcha. All right.
Interesting.
Cutting out foods just sounds hard.
Yeah, and like if I'm working with someone, I never want to pull everything away from the diet. We
Yeah.
might do a version of like an elimination diet to kind of pull things away for a few weeks, let your body relax, give it a break, and then slowly reintroduce things one at a time to see how your body reacts. And then that way we can pinpoint exactly what is causing you problems. And then you're able to add everything back in,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to go through life just cutting everything out if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have as much variety as you can. And so working with someone to be able to eliminate those, but then also reintroduce is key.
Yeah.
What about the people that come to you and go, forget all this gut stuff. I just want some Ozempic. Like, you're a pharmacist, right? You can
Yes.
you can hand out some Ozempic.
If it's been prescribed
If it's
by a
been
doctor.
if it's been prescribed.
Sure. That's what they do in LA, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It is.
What are some of the what is Ozempic? Why is it such a huge craze? And what is it doing to your body?
Oh man, Ozempic.
Ozempic.
Yeah. Well, so Ozempic is a GLP-1 agonist. It does basically two things. It's going to help your body secrete insulin from your pancreas, and then also slows gastric emptying. So when Ozempic came out first, it was for type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And because it causes the insulin secretion. Then they noticed, oh man, all our people are losing weight. This is awesome. And so that's kind of when they were like, maybe we should rebrand and market it for weight loss.
Is that what it is now? It's purely weight loss?
No, it's not. There's different brand names
Okay.
for weight loss.
Okay.
So like Ozempic is branded for type 2 diabetes, whereas like Wegovy is branded for weight loss.
Oh, okay.
Trulicity branded for type 2 diabetes, whereas Zepbound is branded for weight loss. And it's the same companies recreating in a different package the same medication, and they're just branding it for something else so that they can get like the FDA approval on it.
So okay, so you said you used a fancy word there, but
Mhm.
why are they losing weight?
They're losing weight because it slows gastric emptying. So it's slowing down how quickly your stomach is like releasing the food into your intestines, basically.
I see.
And so you feel full,
Yeah.
you eat less, you lose weight.
But you eat less because you're not hungry as much?
Yes. So
Okay.
it curbs hunger.
I see. So you could still, I mean, are you going to get sick if you eat a bunch of food?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So I think my biggest problems with the like Ozempic and Mounjaro is the lack of education for people.
Right.
You know, I like it blew up on TikTok, right?
Mhm.
Like Ozempic has been around for a few years prior to this like
Craze.
craze. Yeah. And so when it blew up on TikTok, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, I can lose weight." And that's when the drug companies were like, "Oh man, let's capitalize on
Sure.
this."
They're like, cha-ching.
Yeah. And so my biggest thing is lack of education because people are not educated on one, how the drug works, the side effects of the drug. There's some pretty serious side effects.
Yeah, let's talk side effects.
Let's talk side effects. Biggest one obviously is going to be like nausea, right? Because you're slowing down the stomach. It makes you sick to your stomach. So nausea is going to be the big thing. But it can also cause gastroparesis, which is like stopping the stomach from moving.
Oh.
And so I literally had a patient come into the pharmacy this week telling me we have a sublingual form of semaglutide available that we compound. And so she was asking me if she would be a candidate because she took the injection, she took Mounjaro, and it caused gastroparesis because she had a history of gastroparesis. Like the patient should have never been prescribed the medication, but her doctor didn't even like talk to her
Yeah.
about that. Then she was switched to Ozempic, which is basically the same thing as Mounjaro, also had gastroparesis and was never told that gastroparesis was a side effect of the drug to begin with. Even though she would be contraindicated, so should not take
Yeah.
the drug in the first place, and was switched to 2 different ones.
That's crazy.
Like, it just blows my mind. And then an interesting fact about Mounjaro is that if you look at the studies on when it was like originally approved, it wasn't just using Mounjaro by itself. It was Mounjaro plus diet and lifestyle.
Yeah.
No one is educated on the diet and lifestyle changes that they should make. And so that's why if you get off of it, you gain the weight back immediately because you haven't put in place those diet and lifestyle factors to support a new healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of dependent on these medications to keep the weight off.
Yeah, that was like always my thing. I'm like, I have girlfriends on it, more power to them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but what happens when you stop?
You gain the weight back.
Like, you're going to be hungry.
So
Yeah.
so it makes you feel less hungry, or makes you feel fuller for longer,
Or so nauseous you can't eat.
or so nauseous you can't eat. But it's
For some
so it's not like but you can still. I'm trying to figure out this. I'm gonna use pizza as an example.
Okay.
Right. So you can eat pizza, but you're probably not going to eat as much.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if and when you get off it, because I'm assuming that like if you're on it, then you have to be on it for like, it's not like, oh, you just do it for 6 weeks or 6 months.
Right.
It's like, no, you're.
So I actually listened to a drug rep give the whole spill at a conference I was at like 2 years ago. And one of the audience members asked, okay, so how do we get the patient off of it? And she was like,
You don't.
you don't.
Okay. So
Why would you want to?
yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is it's so you can eat pizza, you'll eat less.
Mhm.
But when you get off, you'll just
You want to eat more
you'll
pizza.
want to eat more pizza. So it's not a drug that'll get you to go like, oh, I don't like pizza anymore, or I don't like any sort of bad foods or over
Right.
processed. It's literally just like I just feel full. So when I'm
Right.
off of this,
Right.
the same
But
foods I
if you're
still love, but I'm going to eat more.
right, but if you're putting in place those diet and lifestyle changes, you could get to the point where you're like, I really don't want to eat those
I'd
things
rather
anymore
have
because I
yeah.
feel better on
Right.
like eating what I'm now eating. And so I wish like to use the drug the best way possible, like if you
Yes.
do want to use it for weight loss, is having a program that you are making the diet and lifestyle changes, that you're using the lowest dose possible. Because another thing with the drug is that people are losing weight so fast because they're just bumping up to the highest doses possible because they want the highest weight loss available. You're running through, like, first, you're losing muscle over fat.
Mhm.
That's a big problem, which is just not good for overall health and longevity at all. Like, we don't want to be losing our muscle. But then you're also, since you're not eating as much, you're decreasing the amount of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you're getting. If you're eating a standard American diet, you're already low on all of those things. So you're cutting that even lower by
Mhm.
not eating as much. And so
So you're thinner, but you are less healthy.
But you're
if you're not making those foundational changes, then you're just not doing the
like, what's the
best.
point?
Right.
Well,
Like,
okay, so the
Unless you can
hypothetical would
afford to
be
be on it for the rest of your life.
if you were
right.
going to do the recommended diet and lifestyle
Mhm.
changes,
Mhm.
the argument then would be if you were to just do those, you wouldn't have to have the Mounjaro and the Ozempic in the first place, right? It's
Right.
basically acting like like a a surge up front.
Yeah, which can be very motivational for
I
people.
see.
So, there is like I'm not like completely against it,
Right.
Right.
because it can be, if you've struggled with weight loss forever and then you start this and you see like, oh my gosh, I'm losing weight for the first time ever. It can be very motivational to help you keep going.
Mm.
And to, like, wanna be more active because now
Right,
it's
because now
not
it's a little bit
painful. Yeah.
easier. And so I don't think that it's necessarily bad. I just think that it's being used very inappropriately. Patients come in who do not need it, like,
Yeah.
don't need it, and they're put on it, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, that's just making like, you're just losing all your muscle, you're not getting your vitamins and minerals, you're not gonna be functioning optimally, you might be really, really skinny,
Yeah.
but that's not really helping your overall health." And so I wish there was more support for patients who are going to want to use it because I think it could be a really great tool. It's just not
There's
being
not enough
done.
Where's
education
the
around it.
Yeah.
where's the Ozempic that just puts all of it puts all of the nutrients of 80 vegetables in your body at an injection? I mean, that to me that seems to be the the golden
Yeah.
arch to go to, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
everybody wants faster, quicker,
Easier.
right? Like and easier,
Which is why
and
this is such a draw, is it's quick, easy, once a week injection that you don't have to really do much to get the benefit.
yeah,
But then there's also the side that, like, usually if you are overweight or obese, you probably have some sort of metabolic problem going on, so some kind of blood sugar problems going on, and it does help with insulin sensitivity, or, like, it makes you secrete more insulin so that you're uptaking that glucose, which
Mhm.
is helping your blood sugar control, which does help, your metabolic function. Um, but at what cost
Yeah.
of everything else? So it's just
yeah.
it's
Because we were
hard.
watching, it was like a woman who they noticed she had a very low, almost no bacteria or microbiome that would actually they find that it helps with weight loss.
Mhm,
She didn't have any, so
mhm.
she's obviously struggling with her weight
Yeah,
on top of whatever her diet is, right?
right.
So I don't know what they asked her to. I don't know what that bacteria is. I don't know if they asked her to eat acorns or something. I don't know,
Mhm,
whatever. But then it's like if you were to introduce that, then
mhm.
in theory, you're introducing a new food that could technically actually help you to lose weight
Right. And
or speed it up, I guess.
right. So the drug works as well. Like it's a GLP-1 agonist. So it's working on the GLP-1 receptors, which causes the insulin secretion, causes the slowing of the gastric emptying. There are things in supplements that also can promote GLP-1 naturally as well. And so I'm sure you've seen on like Instagram and TikTok, like berberine, it works like a GLP-1 agonist as well. It's just a more natural form of it. So incorporating that, some people are doing that.
It makes your pee stink.
Yeah, it does. And actually,
Like asparagus. Okay.
berberine also does sort of work on the microbiome as well. It can be used to help like weed out bad bacteria. And so if you use it really long term, it can actually disrupt the gut microbiome
Oh, really?
as well. And so you don't want to be using it long term. But again, lack of education on things.
Yeah. We don't take it anymore. I didn't like the stinky pee.
Yeah, we don't.
I would give it to him, and then he was like, "Why does my pee stink?" I'm like, "That's the berberine. Sorry."
Well, speaking of like bacteria, yeast, and things like that, what about beer and wine? That's fermented. Seems healthy. That's not the answer. That's not the response I was hoping for, but
everything in moderation.
Yeah.
okay. Where should people get a hold of you if they're in this area?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram, Chelcee Porter, Chelcee Porter, and then Facebook Porter Wellness, or you can go to my website, www.chelceeporter.com.
Excellent. Did you have any more questions? We can talk probably for hours about stool
she's
samples.
not going to recommend that we DIY fecal transplants.
Yeah, let's not.
No, we're still doing it.
You have to watch this documentary though, because they showed this couple doing he pulled out a big stool from their refrigerator. They put it in a blender with some water.
In their blender. So go ahead with that. That gets thrown out immediately. And then I saw her. She was basically like taking apart capsules to then.
And then they put them in the freezer next to the ice cream they were going to eat. Girl.
Yeah.
This was like 7:00 in the morning, and I'm like with my cup of coffee.
Seems to be a very severe case of she can't basically eat anything.
Definitely see someone who specializes in the transplant.
Yeah.
Don't DIY.
Okay.
I was like, who does this?
Please.
My sister.
The internet. The internet does this. That's why.
Getting bee money.
Yeah. And that's like, I feel like a scary thing with like just the health and wellness trends is like there is so much information out there and you don't know what's true. You don't know what to believe. And then you start doing these things these random people are recommending. And it's like, that's not.
All right. So on that, then we'll end on this. I'm curious. So as somebody who's in the health and wellness industry, and this is your profession, what is your take on TikTok and the potential ban of TikTok?
Oh, that's a good one. You should always, if you're going to take someone's advice, like vet them, look up like what certifications do they have? How are they educated? Do they have the qualifications to be talking about these things? Because anybody these days can say they're a health coach and anyone can give you random health and wellness advice. Do they even have a medical background? Like, have they taken proper steps to be educated in the subject matter? It's kind of mind-blowing to me sometimes, like, seeing, like, these people and, they're making, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars being a health coach, and they have no certification in it at all.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
They're essentially just an influencer.
Yeah.
So does a TikTok ban hurt your business, or does it potentially help it? Because I feel like, listen, I'm in social media, right? So I'm all for social media.
Yeah.
But you get the good with the bad.
Right.
Right? You get very probably, good information about certain things, and on the flip side, you get Tide Pod challenges.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, I think that people can become very educated on certain topics very quickly.
Yes.
But like you're saying, how factual is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I think I think social media is awesome. Like it provides us with so much information at our fingertips. I think that's really cool. But just see who you're taking the advice from. Because social media helps me to get clients. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
if you're looking for someone to help you do whatever it is, like a haircut or,
Right.
whatever it is, you're going to go on their social media and you're going to see what they have. And if someone has a cool social media, you're probably going to pick them, right? But you just taking the extra step just to make sure like they do have some sort of qualification for it, I think is going to be the best.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Chelcee Porter, we really appreciate you coming in today,
Thank you.
talking about gut health, talking about stool samples. Probably do ours after this.
We're all gonna poop in a bucket next.
Yeah, and we'll figure out what I can't drink beer anymore
After today.
after. Yeah, as our
Today
Starting
doesn't count.
Monday.
yeah.
Starting Monday.
Monday's always a new one. It's very fascinating. It is very interesting. I think for the vast majority of people, it's way too scientific and it's way too over their heads. And going back
It
to the
is.
technology thing, I truly think like this watch, right?
Yeah.
Can get my blood pressure, right? Track
Yeah.
my pulse, all types of things. There's another one to, again, blood glucose levels. I'm sitting there
Yeah.
going, like, can the Apple Vision Pro, can you
Oh my
look into somebody's gut? I feel like if that's where it was headed,
Yeah.
it would make it a lot more accessible.
Right.
I'm not making the case that I want to buy
Right.
an Apple Vision Pro. I do, but I'm not making the
That's
case.
not a lie.
Right? But I'm thinking that like it's those types of medical and technological jumps
Yeah.
that I think makes it easier because I don't think most people can wrap around their brain that they have all this bacteria in their gut and
No.
you do one thing and it affects things and
Right.
and then you start talking about like huge medical,
Yeah.
Parkinson's and autism and
Mhm.
all these things that are in the brain, but it's affected by the gut.
Right, exactly. And we're barely scratching the surface on how the microbiome works. We have a lot of information now, but like it's barely scratching the surface. So
Mhm.
like to think about where we'll be in 10, 20 years with this information is going to be really, really awesome. I think the more functional route is the way medicine is moving. We have incredible acute medicine here, like available. Like we have access to incredible acute care medicine, but we're lacking in the chronic care space. And we're really like, it's not good.
Yeah.
And so moving towards this functional route, I think, is where everything's going. I think COVID really played a role in that. COVID really made people start thinking, like, what am I putting into my body? What is my health? Like, how is my health affecting? Like, what am I doing to affect my health? I think that really made people start questioning things
Mhm.
and really looking to dive deeper into how can I improve my health versus just cover up the symptoms. And so I think that really gave us a good push into more of a functional medicine movement. And I think that's where like chronic care management is going to be in the future, which makes me really excited because it's my favorite topic.
Yeah. Yeah, in between, so people, they were at home
Washing groceries.
washing their Pringles
Yeah.
and
Trying
then
to
figuring,
find ivermectin.
yeah, they were like
Weird time.
between
weird time.
Tiger King and Animal Crossing, they were figuring out like what is wrong with my body
Right.
now that they really just had
They had
time
lots
to
of
think.
Yeah, they
Right.
had time to think, and we were really put in this weird situation of like everyone's getting sick. How do I prevent that?
Mhm.
And so it really got people thinking about prevention versus just management. And like
Yeah.
prevention is key. There are pretty much all chronic diseases are preventable. And so, like, what can you do right now
Yeah.
to help you prevent those down the road?
Yeah.
Like I lost 80 pounds in the pandemic
Really?
in 2020,
That's awesome.
and it literally had nothing to do with me trying to solve issues. I mean,
Mhm.
to her it was because she can see the symptoms, I can't.
Yeah.
Right? It was just more or less like, well, I can't go out to bars and restaurants,
Mhm.
and if I can't lose weight in this scenario where you're pretty much in a bubble,
Right.
right? Nothing's really going to work.
Yeah.
But going back to the correlation, right? It was strictly a this weight loss motivation,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
The external.
Yeah.
But thinking through, it was like, yeah, I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer, right? Like if
Mhm.
you were 80 pounds less and you were eating chicken, broccoli, and rice every day instead of pizzas and
Yeah.
the such, you're going to feel better.
Right.
Right. Now, to what extent? Like not healing the smallest
Right.
insensitivities and things like that. But it was just like, I don't know, you're going to be, you're naturally going to be healthier. It would be
Right. Right. And I think that's another thing is like people don't know how good they could feel.
Mm.
You know, like you're used to feeling a certain way. And after you feel a certain way for so long, that's your normal.
Mm-hmm.
And until you start making these changes and you realize, "Ugh, I don't have to have that afternoon slump. I don't have to wake up feeling exhausted. I don't have to have bloating every single day." Like, you don't know how good you can feel until you start feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting people to realize, like, just because you feel this way doesn't mean it's normal. Just because a lot of people have the same things does not mean it's normal.
It's your normal.
It's your normal, but
Right.
it's not actually normal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so once people start to realize, wow, I'm feeling a lot better, like the motivation like skyrockets because they're like, oh man, I
Yeah.
can do really cool things and feel so much better if I can just keep doing like a little bit more, a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Like all of a sudden you have the energy of the focus,
Yes,
the drive. Like,
exactly. And it's like a cycle. And then you start feeling better and you're like, I don't want to start. Like, I don't want to go back to feeling icky,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow, this is fascinating. You're definitely going to get me into a health kick, which is probably
I
very
have
positive
been
to her.
begging him.
Okay, let me hit one thing. This doesn't
Yeah.
even have to be in there. Okay, you're looking at two people's philosophies on health
Yeah.
differently, right?
Yeah.
My philosophy on health is just eat super clean
Mm-hmm.
and you'll lose weight naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're kind of like, boom, I'm done now.
Yeah.
Right. And I eat super clean. Now, whether or not you can eat like that for the rest of your life, it's probably not realistic.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would say your example of it is we're going to do a food sensitivity thing. We're going to cut out this thing for 25 days and then we're going to cut, and then we'll
30
introduce,
days is nothing.
and then we'll introduce this right back in. And I'm sitting there going like, I literally could just lose 50 pounds eating chicken, broccoli, and rice. It's super boring.
But you're
Yeah.
not getting all the like different nutrients and vitamins
Right.
and minerals.
Substitute broccoli
And
with
that
anything else in the produce aisle.
inflammation's not
That's
gonna
totally
go down.
fine, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, right? And I agree with you. I might still have my back still might be sore. I still might have brain fog. But the 50 pounds is gone,
Right.
right? So how do you balance that sort of?
I think it goes back to like, how much do you read about health?
A lot.
You're researching, right? I can get that. Like she's researching it. And so she's seeing other benefits.
Mm,
Whereas I feel like you have not done the research that she has.
Sure.
And so you're seeing it from just like the average.
Joe.
Yeah.
Just
like
the weight loss.
Yeah. You're just thinking about like, oh, you're going more into like the traditional, like you need to lose weight and you'll feel better. Whereas she is diving deeper and understanding why are you feeling better. And I think when people start to change their idea of health from a number on a scale to how they're actually functioning, how they're actually feeling, is when that shift happens and you're focusing on true health versus just, I need to lose weight.
She's my new favorite person in the whole world.
When I tell you I could talk about this stuff for hours, I'm so passionate about this stuff. Like,
It's weird. This whole episode just got cut. I'm just kidding. No, we really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
This is really helpful because she even thanked me this morning. She's like, "Thank you for watching this gut health documentary with me." And for me, it's this aspect of like, it is interesting. My brain just starts to go to what is realistic.
Yeah.
And trust me, I know that I don't eat super healthy. Like, it's not like I'm going like, I've tried everything and it's like,
Right.
I'm peak performance, but my back still hurts all the time. Like,
Mhm.
that's where it just goes. That's the end all be all, right?
Right.
Versus like, yeah, okay, maybe I have joint pain or something, but it's like, I literally go like, yeah, because you're fat, dude.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Your back hurts. You're
Yeah.
fat.
But I also think that's a difference between like a male and female perspective.
Mhm.
You know, because my husband kind of had that as well. Now I've really coached for the last 10 years.
Sure.
And so he doesn't do that as much. But I feel like that's also a difference between males and females just
Yeah.
thinking.
We're better thinkers.
Yeah, like we really like to
Yes.
dive deep into the details,
Right.
whereas men,
Surface level.
yeah, which is,
I'm researching like cameras and lights.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not
not your gut
probiotics.
and
Yeah.
poop.
Yeah,
I
like
could talk about
Kiefer Sutherland, what a great actor. Yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
But like, and I'll read these books and I try to explain it to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like super amped up and excited, and he's just like RGB lights, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. So like him watching that movie this morning, like it very much simplified it in an easy to understand way, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is
It
perfect.
dumbed it down. That's
Yeah.
what she's saying. I
I
get
said
it.
I don't want to say it's dumbing it down, but like it was,
Yeah.
you know, it was very simplified, but it like still got the point
I
across.
did
Yeah.
need the visuals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I needed the
You're a
visuals.
visual
Yeah.
person.
I'm a
Which
visual
everyone
person.
learns differently.
Yeah.
And so just having access to information and education in a way that you can understand and that you can digest is really important, because that's another thing that I really focus on with clients is like why we're doing things. Like, I'm not just telling someone to do something. I'm always explaining, probably over explaining because I just love it so much, why we're doing it and what is it actually helping. You know, when I tell someone, oh, I want you to go outside for 5 minutes in the morning. But I'm explaining to them how that is affecting their circadian rhythm and it's affecting their cortisol rise and how that is connected to their inflammation and their blood sugar regulation.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just like these, it sounds like, oh, go outside. But there's like a scientific reason why I'm
Yeah.
making those recommendations. And I want people to understand that, because when you understand why you're doing something, it's much easier to follow through on. You see a greater like picture of what's happening. And so I think that education piece is just so important.
Yeah.
So you go outside. Wait, you wake up at 4:30. Then you go outside, and then you don't have caffeine for the first 30 minutes of your up, and then you cold plunge, and then you like I'm seeing this
That would be-
podcaster regimen here.
Yeah, no,
The Huberman, Rogan.
you know, I am much simpler than that.
Okay.
I have a 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old,
Yeah.
so your girl don't got time for that. We just started sleeping through the night last week,
Oh,
so
congrats.
yes, thank you. Yeah, so we don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that be fun? Would that be a cool thing to be able to do? Yes, but just simply doing, like, I'm basic, like, get some sunlight first thing in the morning, in your eyes, real sunlight, and having some protein before you have your coffee, and you're already setting your day up better than, like, 60% of people.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Baby steps.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks again. Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming in.
absolutely. Thank
It's
you.
fascinating, and we do appreciate your time. And Terra and I will have some conversations, and you'll probably see me eating some, I don't know, some
Cheeseburger.
kimchi or something later.
Oh,
Kimchi.
Listen, I'm bougie. Okay, I'm not here. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going straight to the kimchi.
I was gonna just say
I
like
just say
raw
yogurt.
sauerkraut.
Drinking raw sauerkraut. Oh, gross. Drinking some
so
kombucha or something. you know?
Real sauerkraut, so much better than just like
Then
the.
like a wiener schnitzel. That's that stuff. Oh, okay.
I hate wiener schnitzel. Like,
We're
when my
sponsored by
mom
Wiener
listens
Schnitzel.
to this, she's gonna laugh out loud that you said wiener schnitzel because I hate it that much.
Oh,
I've never eaten it.
this episode is brought to you by Wiener Schnitzel.
Don't do it.
Get that mustard, dog. Pretzels. All right. Well, we'll see you on the next one. We're gonna go fix our guts, or take Ozempic. Who knows?
Or a little of both. We could
A
have
little
both.
of both.
Yes.
Let's do both.
All right. Perfect. I don't have the money for that, so I don't have the money for either. But let's be real. Okay. All right. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.